people ran into that building to just try to take shelter. Because again, as Keely and Josh have been telling us, you know, when this all started to happen, a lot of these eyewitness accounts, people are just talking about running to the closest place they could, locking the doors, getting inside, getting safe away from the open area that may be dangerous. Yeah. So again, a very, this is developing as we speak here. And we do hopefully want to hear from the law enforcement on the scene. A number of agencies out there: Dane County Sheriff, Madison Police, Middleton Police, ATF, FBI, and we see our Keely Arthur there on the scene as well. Keely, just wondering if you have any new information to share at this time.
Yeah, Keely, we're seeing traffic come through that area. So what are those cars that are moving along where you are?
Well, just to give you an idea of how big this is, I'm a little out of breath. I've been running. So at that Residence Inn, the people that were working in those buildings have been brought over there. Now, I spoke to a gentleman who works inside this larger Browner building. He said he didn't hear anything, but he was kind of in his office and all of a sudden looked out his window and saw, you know, dozens of cop cars. Started to hear, you know, mutterings of a shooter, but again, did not hear anything. I spoke to a woman who saw somebody being saw a person being transported into an ambulance, and that person was being transported at the residence, near the Residence Inn. So we're kind of hearing that there was the situation here, but then people were running out to safety. People who had been shot have been running to safety and then taken by the ambulance. As far as cars moving around, it seems like this area near Greenway Station has opened up a bit. As Josh reported, you know, I think people heard their loved ones or friends were in this situation and then tried to come here to kind of be there for support and try to figure out what exactly was going on. So we are seeing that traffic. I've spoke to a number of people who said, yeah, we came to pick our friends up, but now we're being pushed back. So I think police are trying to just control that traffic right now, but by no means has this area opened up to the public.
And still, Keely, I'm curious, are there still, I mean, Josh referred to hundreds of people still evacuated in that area. Are you seeing just masses of people kind of, you know, congregating in certain areas right now?
Well, I think the police have done a really good job of keeping people back. I mean, where we are is fairly close to these two buildings where the active shooter was confirmed to be. So where we are right now, it's a lot of media, a lot of police, but the people more over here. I think people still are genuinely scared. As I said, we saw people out here saying, you know, what's going on? But that was a half hour ago, as we saw snipers, as we saw the FBI, as we saw Dane County, Madison, Middleton, you name it, they were here. People.
So Keely, we just lost her there, but we want to let you know there are 4 patients. So this is according to UW Health, 4 patients involved in this active shooter situation who are at the hospital right now. There is no word on the status of those individuals.
Right, 4 patients transported to the hospital. Governor Walker has also tweeted about this, saying that he is closely following the situation, and our thanks go out to the first responders on the scene. So we are anxiously waiting for an update from law enforcement on the scene about the status of this active shooter, if the situation has been resolved, and when and if the lockdown and the all clear will be given. We still don't have an exact location about where this happened, which is understandably concerning and frustrating for people who are watching and have friends and family who work in the area. All we know for sure is that it is the 1800 block of Deming Way, which is adjacent to Greenway Station, the Greenway Station shopping area. And there are a lot of multiple businesses in several office complexes that are within that perimeter. It looks like police are starting to get set up, and hopefully this update will be coming soon.
It couldn't come a moment sooner, right? This happened about an hour and a half ago. People just wondering if their loved ones are okay. There's no indication of how many people were in these buildings or building at the time of this shooting situation. So again, a lot to clear up and a lot of questions to be asked. I imagine though too, with the FBI federal investigators being involved, that it may not be a lot of information forthcoming immediately. So that is something to keep in mind as well, to be patient with law enforcement as they try to work through these details. Once again, 4 patients, this is confirmed by UW Health, 4 patients in the hospital right now being treated in connection with this active shooter situation. We do not know if they are victims or the shooter. Don't know anything about their conditions at this time. So you are looking live right now as we try to wait and see if police are ready to update us on anything. As far as it goes right now, we have Josh Sprider and Keely Arthur both out on the scene. You can see some people in plain clothes right there.
Yeah, right. Keely, what's happening behind you there?
Absolutely.
We are seeing at least 50 people being walked out of that area where all those officers were towards us. Again, they're going kind of toward where we saw those other people being brought to safety. They're being ushered by a Madison police officer, it looks like. These people are in plain clothes. They look like they were working. Some people, everyone's just kind of on their cell phones, people very quiet.
As expected. If
moving
they were,
quickly to that safer area.
If they were involved in any way in all of this, I'm sure it has been a very shocking and frightening morning for them. Is there any indication, Keely, are you seeing any indication of where these people work? You know, sometimes folks have polos or fleeces or jackets. It's just a big question on a lot of people's minds right now as to where this happened. Any indication of that?
I have not, no, that's a great question. I have not seen any like logos or anything that would be identifying, but we did hear from a witness who said that her friend worked at Century Insurance, saw a gunshot victim, called 911.
You don't want to read too much into a situation like this, but it doesn't look, people look subdued and calm. It doesn't look like a frantic situation. But are police keeping these folks away from the media, Keely?
Yeah, I mean, they're being, so there's the restaurant right here. They're being walked behind the restaurant, and then everyone's kind of over. Everyone who appears to have been working in either one of those buildings has been brought to the Residence Inn. To get an understanding of where these people were working, I did speak to one of the men who worked in this building. He said he didn't hear anything and was only alerted to the situation once he looked out the window and saw all the cop cars. When we got here pretty early, I was able to get right near that parking lot. There weren't many police officers in that parking lot. It seems like more people are in that shorter Tanner building, or more officers were kind of focused on that area.
So we are looking right now overhead, thank you, Keely, at the TMJ chopper video right now. This is our sister station over in Milwaukee that flew over to check out this situation. As you can see there, a little bit of a better look at the building where there is a lot of police activity right now. There is still an ambulance parked outside of this building in the 1800 block of Deming Way. We are still not sure at this time whether or not a suspect is still in that building, if that person has been subdued or arrested, if that person is at the hospital. So we are proceeding with caution, as law enforcement, as you can see, are as well. It looks like things, though, are calming down a little bit as we just saw some people evacuating from the area.
And again, from UW Health, they have confirmed for us that 4 people were transported to UW Hospital. No update on their status, no word on their injuries, their conditions, but four people were taken by ambulance to the hospital.
And if you're just joining us, let's turn it over to Josh Sprider. He has been live in Middleton this morning. Josh, you have been following this from the start. What can you tell us now?
Yeah, guys, we are standing by in the Tuesday morning parking lot. We're expecting a news conference here any minute. There aren't any police or investigators here on scene, but we've been told to meet in this parking lot to gather that new information. Kind of what I've been able to gather from witnesses right now is it happened in the WTS Paradigm building. That has not been confirmed yet, but I've spoken to many witnesses that either got calls from loved ones in there and they could hear the commotion in the background, and that's where we've seen hundreds of those witnesses or those bystanders coming out of the buildings that they've been gathering over at the Residence Inn. And right now they're keeping them away from media, so we've been unable to speak with them more about what happened, but we have had many bystanders around here trying to get to their family members because they heard of this happen. Either they've gotten a call, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, but I'll mention again if you're just joining us, is there was a mom down in Monroe. She said she had received a call from her daughter who actually works in the WTS Paradigm building and said that there was an active shooter situation underway and that she was okay at the time, but that call was very, very quick. She wasn't able to speak with her much, so she rushed up from Monroe to see what was going on, and yet we don't have any more information than what we've seen right now. Another man I spoke to earlier was out on his morning walk. He was on his way to Starbucks when he saw a gunshot victim actually make his way over from the WTS Paradigm building and actually plopped himself down on the sidewalk where medics were able to come up to him a little bit later on, and that's where a lot of the scene and a lot of the investigation has been down there. And then moments later, that's when he saw around 60 people walk out of the WTS Paradigm building, and then once we got to the scene, we saw around a couple hundred more come out of that building. So again, we're not learning a lot, but from what we've been gathering from witnesses, is it happened probably most likely that WTS Paradigm building, but again, that has not been confirmed. We are standing by for police, no police or investigators here on the scene, but we will bring you that as soon as it becomes available.
Josh,
back to you guys.
We are looking at the, thank you very much. We are looking at the WTMJ chopper footage right now. This is live right now above Middleton. You just saw right outside of the Residence Inn in this area, those people gathered, looking like they're getting some kind of talk from law enforcement there. We're not sure how they may be connected to the situation, whether they were on lockdown, whether they were directly involved. But something else to point out, Josh mentioned this WTS Paradigm building. This houses a lot of different businesses, so still unclear where exactly this shooter was. However, in this footage from TMJ, we were able to spot that WTS Paradigm sign.
And a large gathering of law enforcement
exactly
in front of the building.
Exactly, in that entrance. So worth noting right there. But again, we're just trying to learn more as we get more eyes on this situation as well.
This helicopter shot kind of gives you a perspective on how challenging a scene like this can be, because this is businesses, residences, hotels, a shopping mall. It's a very, very complicated scene. Now that's what we were talking about earlier. That is the WTS Paradigm building. The law enforcement that we saw earlier they were right in the gathering space before. It doesn't look like there are as many there now, but there's still an ambulance on the scene there. Yeah,
absolutely. So again, 4 people taken to the hospital in this situation. No word on their conditions at this time. 3 schools on lockdown this morning, as well as a preschool right by this situation. So we are still gathering information and still hoping to hear from law enforcement very soon. Federal investigators are on the scene of this situation, as well as Dane County Sheriff's deputies. We have Madison Police, we have Middleton Police, Fire, etc. It's a lot going on, and we are continuing to learn more every moment here. So we are still working, as our reporters on the scene are working to talk to some of the eyewitnesses in this situation. Again, we just saw some of those large groups of people standing in the Residence Inn parking lot. We just a few moments ago saw a lot of people lined up leaving this area, or I should say the perimeter area, the police area. We're not sure, again, how they're connected to the situation, what business they may have been working in, or where they may have been residing at the time of this shooting, but we are still trying to figure out all of these details. And
if you're at home watching and you know someone that is in any of these affected areas, you can reach out to us with any information that you want to help us relay to everyone else at tips@channel3000.com. And we can, then we can relay the information and let everybody know what's going on. The schools remain, the 3 schools that have been on lockdown all morning remain on lockdown, and I'm assuming Greenway Station is as well. We have not heard an update, so I'm assuming no news means status quo.
I would imagine so too. As you can see there, interesting here, there's firefighters, I would imagine, trying to clear this scene, make sure there's no other threat in the area right now to these buildings. Again, this is in the 1800 block of Deming Way. You can see in perspective here where that is in Middleton. This is right near the Greenway Station shopping center. The building where this happened, as far as we know, houses, a couple dozen businesses. So it's still, again, unclear where exactly this shooter went into, what kind of offices, who, if anyone, they were targeting in particular. We are still also trying to learn about the conditions of the 4 people who are at UW Hospital this morning, or this afternoon, I should say, getting treatment for their injuries related to this situation.
Apparently, the group of people that we saw earlier on the helicopter shot, it looks like those may have been employees that were evacuated from the Paradigm building, and they were in the parking lot of the Hilton Garden Inn. So we still, as Danica said, we still don't have that information confirmed about where precisely this shooting happened, if the situation is resolved, how many people were injured, what the status of the shooter is, and when the perimeter in the area is going to be lifted for schools, the shopping area. Middleton Police also sent an emergency message to residents asking them to stay in place until the all clear is given. That has not changed either. So we're waiting for an update from police momentarily.
Absolutely. In the meantime, we are still looking at these aerial shots from our sister station, WTMJ in Milwaukee. That sign right there says WTS Paradigm. So that is the building that we are concentrated on, and obviously law enforcement are concentrated on as well at this hour. All right, we are going to turn it over to Josh Spreiter, who has been on the scene. He is speaking with an eyewitness to this whole situation. Josh, go ahead.
Yeah, guys, we're still here in the Tuesday morning parking lot. We're expecting a news conference any moment. Again, we have not seen police come here yet, but I've got Melissa here with us. And Melissa, you said you were actually in the area when this all happened.
Yeah, there was a lot of cop cars, sirens. I thought it was a bad accident, but come to find out, I got this thing on my phone that said there was an active shooter in Middleton at a building. I went over to McDonald's and there was a lady in there and she had blood on her knee. She said, I asked her if she got shot, and she said, no, it was from the glass breaking from the window over there.
Was she able to say anything more than that, or?
No, she was like shaken up pretty good.
So you said that you've actually got kids in the Middleton School District?
Yes.
So are you kind of a worried parent kind of hanging around here wondering what's going on as well?
Yeah, the school was on lockdown, Middleton High School, Cromrie.
All right, well, Melissa, we thank you, and yeah, I'll give you any updates as far as the school lockdowns go on. So as you can mention, now that's 2 people that we've had that have seen somebody with blood on them that has been affected by that. Melissa said that she met that woman in the bathroom of the McDonald's parking lot, or the McDonald's rather, and had blood on her knee, and said that it was from the glass from that shooting. Earlier, we had spoken to the witness that was out for a walk that had seen the gentleman walking over from WTS Paradigm with injuries, with blood actually dripping down, where that man was eventually sat down on the sidewalk, where medics eventually got to him, and that's where part of the investigation is going on. So again, we've seen 2 people now that have had some sort of injuries. Obviously, we've confirmed more than that, but a lot of people still standing by wondering what's going on. As you can see, Melissa, she's got kids in the Middleton School District, wondering when she can get to them with that lockdown still going on. But again, guys, we are waiting for that news conference. Again, we have not heard any updates from police yet, but we're all standing by, and we'll bring you those updates as soon as they become available.
Josh, where was Melissa exactly?
So she said she was actually down. So we're in the Tuesday morning parking lot. So she would have been south here in the McDonald's parking lot. She said she was actually closer to the scene, but when she had gotten the notification, that's when police pushed everybody away, and she said she had to use the restroom. So she went to the McDonald's, which is just a couple blocks from here, and that's where she saw that woman with the blood dripping down that had been affected by the glass in that shooting.
Okay.
A lot of people kind of seeing the same thing. I know Josh has told us his own eyewitness accounts of people, coming out of these buildings and just sharing their stories. There was a gentleman just walking along the sidewalk earlier, taking his morning walk, and all of a sudden his morning changed drastically, as well as everyone else involved in this. So.
Here is another live picture from our helicopter from our sister station in Milwaukee of the WTS Paradigm building. This is a building that houses more than 20 businesses, a variety of different companies. So we're still not sure if this is the exact location and what specific business we're talking about.
Absolutely. And, it's hard to say in these situations whether or not a specific business was targeted. We'll hopefully learn some more about this suspect in this situation. And there's always the chance in these situations as well that the suspect is no longer around to tell his or her side of the story. So we will be sure to update you on that. We were hoping for an update from law enforcement about 20 minutes ago or so. So we are still waiting on that. Obviously a very fluid scene, and the officers are doing what they can to get things, everyone safe before they get us an update on the situation.
Looks like there's more people gathering there at the Hilton Garden Inn parking lot. I don't know if these are employees from surrounding buildings or if they're actually patrons of the hotel, but that looks like it's a staging area where some information is being shared about the status of the investigation. But if you're just joining us this afternoon, this situation is still developing. It has not been resolved as far as we have been told. It is still an active shooter investigation in the 1800 block of Deming Way. There are 3 schools in the Middleton School District that remain on lockdown at this hour.
That lockdown just got lifted. We just got word of that into our newsroom.
Well, that is great news.
It is great news.
That is the first sign of progress that things may be coming to a conclusion here. But we have been told 4 people were transported by ambulance to UW Hospital. No word on their conditions yet. Yeah, 4 people at UW, and we're just getting word from our colleague Eric Franke that 1 person is over at St. Mary's with non-life-threatening injuries. So just to kind of give some perspective here, a lot of these life-threatening situations will get taken to UW where they have that. So 1 person is at St. Mary's right now with non-life-threatening injuries, the other 4 at UW Hospital. Let's turn it over yet again to Keely Arthur, who is live on the scene, has been there since this perimeter was set up, essentially, around this active shooter situation. Keely, what are you seeing now? Anything different from, just wanted to make sure to check in and see what you're seeing.
Well, Danica, this situation has changed every time that we have checked in. First, we were closer, then we got told to push back a little bit even further here now. We are seeing people starting to move. Here, you can see right here, people are very emotional, hugging. People looking visibly upset. Looks like they did witness something. A lot of the people that were working inside these buildings are now being walked, as you can see, this way, many being put right by that Residence Inn parking lot. And I went over there. It looks like officials are briefing those people. I didn't hear what was going on. We are seeing, looks like officers on the roof of that WTS Paradigm building.
Something we're seeing,
and the witness that I spoke
to
was in that.
I'm sorry, I was just going to say that's something we're actually able to see too from our sister station, their helicopter too. So that is definitely happening right now.
Okay, and the situation, is obviously very active right now, but we have seen police walking around, workers walking around. So people are not being sheltered in place. Earlier, we saw snipers. That has also changed. So maybe some of that, although we do not have it confirmed that a suspect is in custody, I do not believe. But, we are being kind of cued off by this situation that things are settling down, that the authorities here have a better grasp of exactly what is going on. But as you saw, people are very upset walking out of these buildings. Definitely a very traumatic day. Witness accounts of people seeing others running out with gunshot wounds.
Understandably, it's a very stressful situation with a lot of people in this area at businesses and in the shopping mall and at hotels. A lot of people are reaching out to me and asking, is the shooter down? And we do not have that confirmed. This is still an active shooter investigation as far as we have been told, and we're standing by and waiting for an update from Middleton Police.
Let's turn it over now to Josh Sprider, who is where that police briefing is supposed to happen any moment now. Josh, what can you tell us?
Danica, we're still here in the Tuesday morning parking lot. This is where police told us to gather for that news conference around a half hour ago. Still no sign of police, but just within the last 2 minutes or so, we've seen some people actually getting escorted by police away from where those people were congregating at the Residence Inn. And I asked them if they could give us any updates. I'd heard him on the phone saying that he was around 20 yards away from what happened, and he said that he's unable to speak. Police told them not to tell anybody what had happened. So again, they're keeping pretty tight-lipped about that. We're waiting for police to confirm some details, but they made their way over from the WTS Paradigm building again, which we have not been able to confirm, but all of our leads from witnesses and those we've been able to speak to are kind of pushing us towards that direction. I just walked over towards the residence and it looks like there's even more people gathering out there than what there was a few moments ago when we were there. So again, they're keeping pretty tight-lipped about this, telling witnesses not to tell anybody, to any of the media or family, as far as what had happened, some of those that were in those buildings at that time. Again, we're here in the Tuesday morning parking lot just waiting for police, which hopefully we can get those updates soon. I know they had told us to be here before noon and we still have yet to have that happen. So if we get any more information, I'll be sure to pass that on.
Yeah, absolutely. But this is, again, such a large scene. So many law enforcement involved, federal agencies involved as well. So a lot going on here. So certainly we know that you want information. We want it as well. But let's try to be patient with these law enforcement as well, trying to sort out exactly what's going on. And like we saw, actually speak to people who have been involved in this.
Yeah, and we've seen some signs that things may be resolving one way or the other. Middleton schools have lifted their lockdown. So if you're a parent watching this hour with a child in the Middleton School District, that lockdown has been lifted. Let's see here. I'm still waiting to see if any of the other lockdowns that were issued this morning have been lifted for the malls and for other surrounding businesses. But we're seeing, it looks like employees in the surrounding office complexes being escorted out of the building and taken to a safe area. Our Keely Arthur has seen a lot of people from all of the surrounding businesses leaving their place of employment and gathering into safe areas.
Absolutely. And this is a very busy area typically. We're talking about this area right near Greenway Station, the shopping center there. So a lot of those stores were on lockdown or still are, according to what we know at this time. That perimeter is so close to there that I wouldn't be surprised if they're at least taking every precaution necessary to make sure that people are safe in that area. You know, if you can avoid this area, please, please, please do. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of moving parts. There are a ton of law enforcement. Again, you've got Dane County Sheriff's Department. You've got Middleton Police, Madison Police, ATF, and FBI all on this scene right now. It's at the 1800 block of Deming Way, in case you're just joining us here. This is the scene of an active shooter situation. Let's turn it over once again to Josh Spreiter, who is at that scene. He's been talking to people who saw something involved with this. Josh, what can you tell us?
Yeah, guys, we spoke to you a couple minutes ago and said that people are starting to get broken away from that scene. I just spoke to a witness who was in the WTS Paradigm building when the shooting happened. Again, this is not confirmed by police, but this is coming from him, and they were able to leave the scene. Police told them that it is a stable situation. Again, we have not had this confirmed by investigators or police so far, but I was able to get a little information from a gentleman just a couple moments ago saying that the situation is stable and police have it under control. Again, they're keeping a pretty tight-lipped as far as what kind of information, but at least from what it appears, it is a stable situation, but we are waiting for police to update us any moment. We're still here in the Tuesday morning parking lot. We'll bring you those updates as soon as they become available. Still a lot of people around here, a lot of parents kind of wondering, even like older parents, their adult children that work in there. Like we had mentioned, that one mother that had driven up from Monroe, wondering if her daughter was still okay. She had received that call a little earlier. So still developing some stories around here from those witnesses, and we'll bring you any new information as soon as I learn more. Still a very active scene out here.
All right, Josh, thank you. We're watching live pictures now of FBI law enforcement going door to door in the parking lot, surveying car by car as part of this investigation.
Yeah, stores are still on lockdown right now at Greenway Station. We just got confirmation of that. So some people are still in these stores. Right, exactly. They've been in there for about 2 hours now since this whole situation began. Again, 4 people are in the hospital at UW Hospital at this time being treated for unknown injuries. We don't know how serious those injuries are. One more person is over at St. Mary's Hospital making sure, or with non-life-threatening injuries, I should say. As you can see, people people still on pretty high alert. There are people on the rooftops here of these buildings making sure that there is not another threat, and that if there is one that arises, that it won't become something that is dangerous.
There remains a large law enforcement presence. And again, if you're just joining us, there is still no word about whether the situation has resolved and whether a shooter is down, or the all clear has not been given. So we're continuing to monitor this until we get an update about the status of the situation from the sizable law enforcement presence that's on the scene.
And we should mention, I mean, this involves, again, we keep mentioning it over and over again, I should say, but this involves the FBI and other federal investigators too. This involves the Sheriff's Department, multiple fire stations, multiple police stations. You are looking now at the parking lot of the Residence Inn right near this situation. As you can see, a large group of people there. We're not exactly sure how these folks are related to that situation. We're trying to figure that out still. Our Keely Arthur on the scenes. You can see her talking to some of the witnesses there. But those people we have seen or been talking to law enforcement have been getting almost, it looked like a lecture situation from law enforcement. But again, those FBI agents continue going car to car.
They're going car to car in this parking lot with guns drawn.
Right. It's just telling, right, of how serious this situation is. So we want people to still be aware. It does seem like things are winding down in comparison to an hour and a half, couple hours ago. But still, this is not something to ignore, and certainly not something that the folks involved are going to forget anytime soon. So again, this is the FBI going just car to car, looking inside and making sure there's not another threat or any evidence that could point to who may be responsible for all of this.
It's hard to get a perspective on where this parking lot is. I'm trying to determine if this is the lot outside of the WTS Paradigm building. I'm not sure. Perhaps when the helicopter pulls out to a wider shot, we'll get a better perspective on where specifically this lot is.
This is all in that area, though, of the 1800 block of Deming Way. And again, this is an industrial park. There are a number of office buildings in this area. There's the hotels in that area. There are residential spaces as well. And this is a heavily trafficked area with, as you can see, a lot of cars outside. So a lot of employees working in these buildings when this all happened. It does appear to be the WTS Paradigm building as we kind of zoom out here. So that is the task of the FBI right now, going car to car. As you can see, there's some of the people involved, I would presume involved in this, giving each other a big hug. Smiles are good to see this afternoon. My goodness.
It's been a very, very stressful morning, and everybody is just waiting for the opportunity to finally exhale and know that this is over and the situation is resolved. This has been going on now since about 10:25 this morning is when the first call came in for an active shooter in the 1800 block of Deming Way in Middleton. And we're continuing to monitor live pictures, aerial pictures from our helicopter from our sister station in Milwaukee to try to get a perspective on the vastness of the scene.
Well, and that's pretty much the best view that we can get at this hour, just because the perimeter has been set so far away from these buildings where this allegedly happened. So Keely Arthur, when she first arrived on the scene, was much closer to the scene than she is right now, and just kept getting